you know.
Yep. Hey there, this is the Resistor Vic Podcast. I'm here to get folks thinking about politics as something that's really about regular people, people like you and me, and to realize that together we can make a difference. I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. Tonight I've got Sandra Van Scotter running for Congress in California Congressional District 20, and I'll bring her on in a minute. In the meantime, I was driving home yesterday, listening to reports about Trump and Davos and how he's just off the rails with some of the crazy stuff he's saying. And it's getting worse and worse. And I'm thinking, man, something's got to happen, right? Any day now he could go. And then I was thinking about the Epstein list. And I'm thinking about all of the powerful people that we suspect are on the Epstein list. And if I was one of them really rich people who's just, feeding Trump money so that he doesn't let the list get out, because if, there's that recording came out a couple of weeks ago where he was yelling at, I think it was Pam Bondi or no, he was yelling at MTG, telling her that he has a lot of friends who will be harmed if that list gets out, right? Well, those friends, they need to make a decision because they might need pardons. And if they keep letting him go downhill, pretty soon he's not going to be able to pronounce the word pardon, let alone sign one. And then they're really going to be screwed. So, maybe they need to figure out which bullet they want to bite. Do they want to let the Epstein files get out there and get their pardons? Or do they want to wait for him to become incapacitated and J.D. Vance takes over in an election year, or with an election coming up for president? Does he want to risk that J.D. Vance will just say, let the files out? Something to think about, oligarchs. Not that the oligarchs listen to my stuff, but anyway. My guest tonight, Sandra Van Scotter from California. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you, Vic. Welcome to me. Yay. And I'm so glad to be on your show. I've been watching it for a while.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I want to get as many candidates out as I can because I think it's important that people take a more active role, especially now, in learning who the candidates are. And I want to be a part of helping people learn about them. If I introduce you to 5 more people in your district today, or 5 people across the country who hear you and say, I'm going to donate, then I've helped a little bit at least, right?
Yes. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And since I just said the word donate, folks, here's her website. It's also scrolling across the bottom, Sandra4CD20.com for those who are just listening. And the 4 is the number 4, numerical 4. And look, donate button right there. So if you like what you hear tonight, don't hesitate to go out and drop her a couple of bucks. I'm guessing you're not a millionaire, are you?
I am not.
No?
Not
Well,
even close.
Who is Sandra Van Scotter and why is she running for Congress?
Oh, I am from a very working class family. I have a bunch of siblings. There's 8 of us all together. And, my parents worked hard to raise us, and we all, went and did our own things, going to school or college or trade school to learn about, how to be grown-ups. And my life and my choice of career brought me into advocacy, advocating for myself, for my patients. I was a respiratory therapist for 20 years. And my work in respiratory therapy, if you're in a hospital with 1,000 nurses, there's maybe 20 respiratory therapists. So we were always the minority party. So I had a lot of experience with working across the aisle to get people's needs met without anybody giving up their beliefs. And so that was kind of the foundation of advocacy, is just, helping people be themselves and getting what they needed. What made me decide to run, and I have never run for office before, was right now in California, I am very involved in the disability community. And after my my guy, his name is Sandy. We're the Sandys. He calls it the big ugly mess, so the bum bill. So after the bum bill passed, the people that I already serve were just blown up my phone because they thought that their benefits were going to get cut. We're going to lose our benefits. And what really bothered me is that no one from either party came to their people that they are elected to serve to explain to them what happened or how they could help themselves. And I was like, our congressional district has been without actual advocacy and representation of the people for a really long time, and it's time to do it.
Where is your district?
My district is in the middle of California. If you look, we're about 5 hours south of Sacramento.
You can tell somebody's from California.
No.
All of their distances are in hours.
Yeah.
Okay. You're south of San Francisco?
Yes. So if you pull up my website again.
Okay. I can do that.
So see where it's highlighted blue there?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
In the big map. That's pretty much to scale for the state of California. So we're outside of Los Angeles and a little bit north. We're south of Mammoth Mountain. We're 2 hours east of Death Valley, and 2 hours west of Death Valley and 2 hours east of Bakersfield, the home of the TV show Chips. You remember that show?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. So it's a super agricultural part of the state. Almost all the almonds are grown there, and the pistachios, and lots of fruits and vegetables, a lot of citrus. A huge portion of our country's stuff is grown in this congressional district.
Is this one that's going to be affected by the redistricting?
Yes, it is. What they did was they made my district a little bit more Republican leaning than it was before.
Oh, bummers.
So on paper, this district is not winnable by a Democrat. It's 50% registered Republicans, 25% registered Democrats, and 25% registered what California calls no party preference.
Well, as somebody who ran in a supposedly can't be one district as a Democrat, and no, I didn't win, obviously, or I wouldn't be sitting here at my tiny little house on the prairie. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in the unwinnable, especially this year. I mean, with everything that's going on, with Republicans getting their butts kicked everywhere, I don't believe there's any district in the country that's not winnable by somebody besides a Republican. I think it's just a matter of whether or not the Democrat or independent, whatever, who is running the strongest, is running on real issues and doing things like you just said, getting out and actually talking to people.
Yes. Yeah. And that is what I have been doing. My strategy is getting out and talking to people and talking about what's important to them. For our congressional district, it's since California redrew the lines for the 2022 elections, we've been this heavily red Republican district. And I think the strategies have been different, and I definitely have a different strategy. And it's all about just reaching out to people, talking to people, lots of canvassing, lots of phone calls, lots of showing up to places. I have an appointment with an indivisible club that's in the far northern part of my district, which will be a 4-hour drive for me. And I'm going.
Nice.
Because that's what the people have been missing.
Yeah.
Is people who show up.
So without telling
them
us
in person,
without mentioning his name, is the guy that's holding the seat now. And I say don't mention his name because you never mention your opponent's name unless mentioning his name will fire people up and say, you're running against that guy?
I get a lot of that.
Okay,
So,
well then feel free to mention
thank
his
you.
name. Who's running?
So,
Who's in it now?
so the incumbent is Vince Fong. He was elected into the seat in 2024 after Kevin McCarthy resigned.
Kevin
And so,
McCarthy's old district.
yes.
Oh, come
And
on, people. We
so,
got to flip this district.
yes, yes, yes. So he was elected in to finish out Kevin McCarthy's term, and then immediately after was elected in again. So we had the special election and then immediately the regular election.
If
in
he
2024.
replaced McCarthy, I'm guessing he's MAGA.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, hardcore MAGA?
I believe so.
Yeah, all right. Guys, come on. Wouldn't it, that would be a tremendous trophy to flip Kevin McCarthy's old district. Yeah. Do you have any other Democrats, or is it just you? Do you have a primary?
So we have not had our primary yet. Our primary is June 2nd. And California's primary is a little bit different than some others. Like when you were talking to Afton and it was like, okay, the Republican and the Democrat, and they all go to, the top vote getters all go to the general election. And that's not how it works in California. In California, it's the top 2 vote getters, regardless of party, that go to the general election. And
That's
so
what they call a jungle primary, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
what the Republican Party did last time is they put another Republican in to bump the Democrat out. So
Right.
we did not have a choice in November. So that's been a lot of my talking to and education of the congressional district is the primary is our election. So
Right.
that we have a choice in November.
Right,
So we almost need more voter turnout than the actual election in November to make sure we have a choice.
Well, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to be this year.
I think so. I think everything that's going on around us has totally changed the rules of how the elections are going to go. I think those first 6 primaries in March that we have in other states are going to give us a really good idea of how things are going to go.
I hope you make the Republicans wear Donald Trump around their neck like an anchor.
I hope so too. And the just the divisiveness and various other things that people are just feeling so out of control.
Maybe you can get Will. Are you familiar with Will Westmoreland? Pops. Look him up.
Okay.
He is a rural Missouri guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been going around the country with other activists trying to get rural agricultural, especially Americans, because they, for some reason, voted for the Orange Idiot. He's going around trying to convince them to just admit that they were lied to.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to admit that you were wrong for voting for him, but admit that you were lied to. If you can do that, then you can see, you'll start looking at the Democratic policies and how they're so much better for rural America.
Right.
So, real quick, I want to address some of the comments that you can't see the comments, can you? Okay.
No,
Shahid or Shadow Eid, thank you so much. And Blitz and Kill, yes, I do pods. Thanks, Jim. Glad to see you too. And Michelle Warmath says, hi, Vic, and hi, Sandra. And we're getting a lot of positive comments. I will keep an eye open in my comments as best I can from our 4 questions. If you guys have questions for Sandra, put them in there, and I will try and notice them and see them. Hello from Colorado Springs. Hello, Sandra. Good luck from a native Californian, Angelino. Tiny donation on the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, how do I say that? Endatmo?
Thank you. That's I think that's the one thing that the public in general also is kind of tired of is the money in politics. But we really can't run successful campaigns without the donations and the support of the people.
Exactly. The best way to get money out of politics is to work to support candidates in every possible way. $5 here and there from a whole bunch of people is better than $5,000 from a corporate PAC.
Oh, yes. And that's, one of the things that people ask me is, we don't see you getting a lot of endorsements. I'm very selective about who I accept endorsements from, because accepting an endorsement is a promise to uphold their agenda. And I
would
don't.
like to see people take endorsements as a red flag instead of a green flag. Because where do the endorsements come from? They come from the establishment that got us here in the first place.
Right.
Right? I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a candidate running for CD4 who is being brought along, if you will, by our incumbent senator, who's also running for re-election and doesn't deserve to be reelected, because they are centrist moderate Democrats, and they're doing joint fundraising. And we never heard of this person, who was a Republican until right after the last presidential election, switched to independent and then switched to Democrat. And when I see endorsements for her, I'm like, wait a minute, you've got the establishment backing you, the same establishment that put us in this mess.
Right.
So, yeah, I hope people will just start shunning endorsements and say, I want to know how many people are volunteering for a campaign. I want to know what her issues are. Speaking of issues, what are the issues you're running on?
Oh my goodness. So ICE, the ICE stuff is really important here. And I'm definitely running on creating immigration pathways and the abolishment of ICE the way it is currently set up. I know ICE, the ICE, the way the offices was established right after 9/11, and before that it was the INS. But we cannot trust the current system of ICE the way it's set up, so it just needs to be broken down and get back to something that honors due process and human rights. Affordable housing is terrible here in California, and there are definitely tools that we already have access to as members of Congress to help bring relief to affordable housing in our congressional districts that nobody seems to be using. So healthcare, I'm a big advocate for Medicare for all. I'm kind of bummed that they've used the word Medicare. Because I've had a lot of people on Medicare. They're like, no, I don't want Medicare for all. I don't want everybody to have this. And I'm like, it's an unfortunate word that they chose. They don't mean the same Medicare at all.
Yes. Bernie, I love you, but change the name of your bill.
Right. So improved access to Social Security, disability, and VA benefits. One of the horrible things I learned is that the federal government spends billions of our tax dollars every year to actually deny veterans benefits at the start of their process of applying for benefits. And there needs to be a revamping of the regulations that determine access and how a veteran applying for benefits proceeds through the system, without hitting a point where they just hit an automatic denial because they made a choice that they didn't understand they were making in the process. Yeah. So there's, with that, there's predatory, like a sub-industry of organizations that help people navigate the system that is not navigatable on their own. And those people can really take a lot of money from benefits, back pay benefits from those veterans. And it's just, the whole thing needs to be revamped. Raising the employment tax cap to stabilize Social Security. Our Social Security retirement is going to experience cuts toward the end of 2032.
When you say raising the employment tax, explain that. I don't understand what you mean.
So there's, I believe it's like $184,000 or something like that right now. Basically, people who make more than that, $184,000 a year, do not pay the employment tax, like the 6.5%
So
employment tax.
you're not talking about raising the tax on people like us. You're talking about scrapping the cap.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and I realize that there's going to be people who be like, well, then their Social Security payments are going to be bigger. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because we got to be able to take care of the rest of the people. Why should we all get a retirement cut? Because we don't want to have other people having a little bit of a Social Security bigger payment because we raised the cap.
Exactly.
So it's the reasoning doesn't make sense.
And after a certain level, they don't necessarily have to get a bigger check. Why should Elon Musk get a bigger check?
And the other thing too is once they get past a certain income amount, those people aren't collecting Social Security.
They don't care. They don't even go to apply for it because it's so insignificant to them.
And then specifically for my congressional district, we are having a severe water and agriculture crisis that our farmers are losing money. We have massive droughts. We're having our infrastructure of our water system is deteriorating because of, just how the ground behaves. When you take a lot of water out of the ground, it's going to sink. So there's all kinds of things that we need to be able to do. There's some really good bills that were put out by a couple of senators here in Congressional District 21. His name is, this is terrible. His name is falling out of my head. And then Adam Gray. So they're both Democratic House of Representatives members that are serving right now that have introduced 3 bills that would bring money to us quicker and shorten the time of how long the government wants to take to do like environmental studies to help us fix our water situation and bring some relief to the Central Valley. So those are the things that people are telling me are most important to them in this congressional district.
So what I'm hearing is you're not just picking these issues out of a hat. These are the things that you're talking to people and they're informing your platform.
Yes, absolutely.
What a novel concept, huh? I mean,
what about?
And that's a good segue into the other thing I want to talk to you about, which is the state of our democracy right now. How did we get here? What do you think it's going to take to get us back to first normalcy and then better?
I think it's going to take people being very brave with how they vote and voting for people who are going to be very brave when they're sworn in January 2027. What we're going to experience is nothing like we've seen in U.S. recorded history. And, we really need to elect people into Congress who are going to be collaborative and work across party lines and figure out how to use the tools that they already have, like the House Appropriations, community project funding, and various other things that they can bring money into their congressional districts and serve the people who elected them without needing a signature from the president and, without having to have things pass the Senate, because we're not going to have enough of a majority to get some things done.
Well, I'm much more optimistic about how the election's going to play out. I look back through history. You look back in the 1930s, 1920s, when the stock market crashed and it was all the Republicans who were saying, we need to just stay the course and we need tariffs and all that stuff. And what happened? Now, this isn't a presidential election year, but when all that bad stuff was going on, the Republicans had strong majorities in the House and the Senate. Stronger, much, much stronger than they are right now. Mm-hmm. And after the stock market crashed, the politicians who were winning the elections were the ones who were saying that we're going to work to help the people. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats got huge majorities in the House and Senate. It was I don't remember the exact numbers. I studied it once, and the flip was incredible. And Trump is so much worse than my brain's locking up a
Same.
pre. Yeah,
Costa. Jim Costa was the other representative I was thinking of from Congressional District 21 in California.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm trying to remember. My brain is just like, president. Who is the president?
yeah. But I think we can take a strong majority in the Senate and a strong majority in the House if people will start realizing that, one, they were lied to.
Yeah.
Two, our democracy really is under threat like it hasn't been since the Civil War. And even with the Civil War, we would have still had our democracy. We would just had fewer states if the South would have won, right?
Right.
We would have still had our constitutional democracy. So I could argue that we've never been under threat like we are right now.
Correct. I agree.
And who got us here? Heritage Foundation and a whole bunch of right-wing organizations, but also a bunch of centrist Democrats who didn't want to push back.
Right. Yeah. There is that. And, there's a lot of, just in talking to people believe that, if you're taking money from corporate PACs, they're calling you up and saying, don't do this. Vote this way. And in order to keep receiving that money, they listen. And it's,
one of my plans, if
rough.
I'd been successful back in 2014, I was going to have a standing policy in my congressional office that as long as there was a constituent from the district waiting outside my door, any lobbyist, regardless whether it was a pro-union, which I'm very pro-union, if it was a lobbyist from an organization that I supported, they would still have to wait until all of my individual constituents had their time before I would see any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've totally forgotten the idea of actually representing people in this country.
Yeah. I agree. And it's time to get back to that. For sure.
This sounds like a good time to bring your website up again. I like to do this 2 or 3 times when I have a guest.
Thank you.
In case you missed it, this is Sandra's website. There's a donate button on there, and her website address is scrolling across the bottom for those who are watching. It's Sandra4cd20.com, and 4 is numerical. And up here you can see this little blue spot right there is the district that she's running in. And it's a challenge district because it is heavily Republican, but this is 2026 where Republicans have been shooting themselves in the foot for the last several years. And all indications across the country is people are tired of it.
Yep, and that's what I'm hearing on the ground too, even from, people who, were very,
Is your state party helping you?
They are. I'm actually going through the process of they're deciding who they're going to endorse. The candidates they're going to endorse. They just started the voting process last Saturday, and the voting will be finished this coming Saturday. And at this point, we don't know who's voting for who. We just know how many people have completed their process of voting. So I have a few more people to reach out to and connect with, and see if they have any questions about how I'm going to help our congressional district. It's a huge district. You can't tell by looking at the map, but it's almost 10,000 square miles, and it's got a lot of gorgeous national forests. The Sequoia National Forest is there. We have 3 military bases, and we have a lot of agriculture, so it's very diverse. Pockets of cities with a lot of rural, and I have a lot of walking to do.
If you were there right now, I've been watching the bill that was submitted, House Resolution 996, submitted to impeach Kristi Noem. And I am incredibly disappointed It's up to 102 as of this morning. 102 Democrats have signed on out of 213. So less than 50% of the Democrats. If you were there, would you be signing on to that?
Oh, absolutely.
The Democratic
Absolutely.
leaders are calling it a distraction and a waste of time.
Well, it might be, but it's also a message to the people that you're representing. If this is something that the people are saying they want, and if you're not going to support what the people you've been elected to represent want you to support, then why are you there?
Well, our founders gave us these tools
Mm-hmm.
in the Constitution to say this is how you address corruption and things like that. And they didn't say only use when convenient or only use when you think you could win. These are the tools. And if we have people elected to Congress who aren't willing to even attempt to use them tools, then why are they there? What is the point of having them there? Because 20 years from now, history's not going to say, yeah, the Democrats could have impeached Noam or tried to, but, they just didn't have, they were the minority, their hands were tied. That's not what history's going to say.
No.
They're going to say the Democrats didn't try to impeach her.
Right. That is what they're going to say. And so I agree with your optimism about how things are going to turn out. But my years of training have told me to be prepared for things not being as ideal as we would like. And
hope for the best, plan
right?
for the worst,
Yep.
or prepare for the worst.
Yep.
Not plan for the worst, prepare for the worst.
Yes.
Plan for victory, prepare for defeat.
Or prepare for just, having to work different.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to have elections. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for some people to be able to vote. I know some people are very worried about, the election process being stopped.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit because
so?
I hear that so much.
Mm-hmm.
People being afraid that there's not going to be an election.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3,386, I think, is the number of counties in this country.
Yes.
In order to rig 3,386 elections, it's near impossible. I mean, the logistics of doing something like that is just crazy. And our elections are ran by the state.
Yes, that's why we'll have elections.
That's why we will have elections.
Yep.
And if you go to your polling place, of course, you guys have mail-in ballots too, right?
We do.
Yeah, you get that ballot, fill it out, drop it off at the county courthouse. It's not that hard, or wherever your drop boxes are. In places that don't have that luxury like we do and you do, if you're going to the polls and there's some goon from ICE standing there trying to intimidate you, walk up to him and just say, nuts, I'm going to vote.
Right.
Don't let them intimidate you, because that's all they have is intimidation.
Yes.
So if to do anything less is to surrender.
Right.
That's not what I served for, and my dad and my grandfathers, and going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, every generation of my family. We didn't serve for people to surrender. So don't you dare do it. All right, before I ask you the last question, do you remember who Tip O'Neill is?
Yes.
Was? All right. Did you ever read his book, All Politics is Local?
I have not.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the question before I tell you. What is your last word? Anything that we didn't cover, what do you want to say to the voters?
I want to say that I am the right candidate to meet the needs and take care of the things and bring the help to take care of the issues that are keeping you up at night.
Okay. Tip O'Neill wrote his book, All Politics is Local. And for those who don't know who Tip O'Neill was, incredibly powerful, long-serving Speaker of the House. He, I want to say during the Reagan years is when he finally retired. Could have been in Bush years, I'm not sure. Anyway, And his last campaign, he describes in his book, his last campaign, which he'd won, obviously, he's talking at the Punch Bowl with one of his longest term supporters. She'd been with him from the very beginning. And he asked her jokingly, "Did you vote for me?" And she looked at him dead serious and said, "No." And he was shocked. He said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because you didn't ask me to."
Right.
Right? So my advice to you is never, ever miss an opportunity to say, "Will you please vote for me?" Because all politics is local.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And yes, I will remember that. Will you please vote for me? I have some phone calls to make to ask people that right now.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Again, folks, if you want to support Sandra, if you want to go out there, and I'm going to say one more thing here. This is not the year to support establishment or incumbents in the primaries. If you want to send a message to Washington, if you want to reclaim the people's power in this democracy, then this is not the year to support an incumbent. I don't care where you're at. Because if incumbents lose their butts in the primaries all across this nation, I think that is the one thing that will kick the Democrats in Washington into gear and out of their "my hands are tied" mode.
Yes.
We need Democrats who are going to have the fortitude to stand up and fight every chance they get instead of monetizing the fall of our democracy.
Yeah.
So having said all that, I will be back next week. I am not going to have a guest next week, so I don't have to tell you about who I'm going to have on next week. Thanks again, Sandra, for joining us.
Thank you, Vic.
Well, folks, looks like we're back at the barn and it's time to call it a day. I sure do appreciate you spending your time with me. If you want to help keep this podcast going by supporting me, you can get a paid subscription on Substack, where I'm Resistor Vic. Or if you're the type that'd rather go to PayPal, I'm also resistorvic@gmail.com. Thanks again.